Morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time zone you may be in. Happy Easter to each and every one of you. Some of us have already enjoyed our Easter day, and some of us are just getting started in our Easter morning and our Easter day. So, wherever you are, God bless us all in this day. And thank you so much, as always, for tuning in and for making us a part of your listening day here on Voice Uganda Radio. I am Miss Brenda, who will be joined by the Honorable Zoe Bakoko, as well as Dorothy, who will be joining us a little later on this morning for a conversation that I think is probably on the in the ears and on the lips of everybody who has anything to do with keeping up with the current events that are going on there in Uganda and around the world. So thank you so much to all our listeners for being a part of the show today. Um, Please don't forget to go out and visit us at fadu.org, our information page. We put a lot of articles out there that we think you would all be very interested in hearing, very interested in reading for yourselves. So please make that a part of your reading day as well when you go out to read, whether it's the Black Star, whether it's the BSN Black Star, or whether it's the Observer or the Monitor. Make sure that you go out there daily and be a part of that also. I'm going to introduce my co-hosts in and let them all say good morning to you this morning before we start into our topic of the day. So I see that Dorothy has also come on board and joined us. So ladies, good morning. And Zoe, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself in and say good morning. We'll go to Dorothy, and then I'll go on into the program today.
Good morning, listeners, and happy Easter. And there couldn't be a better day to discuss the things that we are going to talk about, Uganda and our country, than today when the Lord has risen. And so I just want to say I'm so grateful that we have this day every Sunday. We wake up and we share with you, and it just gives me more resolve and courage to know that we will get our country. And thank you, listeners. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, Becca.
Thank you. Dorothy, go ahead and come in and say good morning, and then I'll start the program in.
Thank you so much, Miss Brenda. Thank you so much, Honorable Coco. I would like to thank our Indian in the studio. And good morning to everybody, all our listeners, whenever you are. Happy Easter, happy Easter, happy Easter. Here we are this morning. We are very sad on a Friday, but Sunday morning, here we are with our Lord risen. So let's call on the passion, the strength for Uganda. We are ready. Thank you so much, Ms. Brenda.
Thank you, Dorothy. And it's great to have Dorothy here with us. As most of you know who tune into our programs every Sunday, she usually comes in a little later, but it's great to have her at the startup of the show today. Ladies, where do we start? I tell you, everything that's in the news is important for us this morning. But let me say this before we get going. There is a petition out on Black Star News. There's a petition. If you go out there and you read the article on Senator Kerry, and all the reasons that people feel that the visa should be revoked there for one of the great leaders there. That, well, we won't call him a great leader. I guess we need to take that away. But for the Ugandan's foreign affairs minister, there's a lot of controversy in the news right now because he could be chosen and elected as president of the UN National Assembly coming up in 2 weeks in New York. There's a petition out there on Black Star News after you read Senator Kerry's piece there to sign a petition. The petition only needs 72 more signatures, 72 signatures to make our vote count, as to the people have spoken that we do not want him to become president of the United Nations Assembly in 2 weeks there in New York, and all the reasons why. It's lined up out there in that article, and those are some of the things that me and the ladies are going to discuss here today because it weighs very, very heavily on our heart. One of the things that I have a lot of compassion about with this story is all of the comments that people have put that went out and signed this petition. a lot of the comments that people are making are some of the same things that we've talked about week after week here on Voice Uganda Radio, not just here on Freedom at Hand, but on some of the other programs as well. It shows a universal support for the people of Uganda. It's not just the people in the UK, it's not just people in America, but it's Australia, it's Germany, it's all over, it's globally, and it's taken fire. And I'm glad to see that the world is paying attention to what's going on in Uganda, and we can no longer be silenced about what the sitting president is doing to the people of Uganda. It's something that is important to all of us, and it warms my heart in a great way to see the outreach from this. Zoe, let's go ahead and start in with you, because I mean, where do we even start at with this article?
Well, Miss Brenda, this article particularly gives us information. It specifies why Honorable Sam Kutesha should not be allowed to chair the United Nations General Assembly come June. Why does that have to happen? It's looking as if we are rewarding Uganda for all the wrongs that it has done. Recently, the United Nations was investigating Uganda for working with North Korea, because it is receiving money from North Korea, which is training its police and the military. And the UN was investigating it. And then after that, I was shocked to see the Secretary General go to Uganda, take a photo with Honorable Sam Kutesa, and say that he supports the bid for Uganda to chair the General Assembly when they have not even completed this investigation. Yesterday, the president was on record saying that he doesn't care. He supports North Korea, they are his friends, and they are training his military and police. When he was passing out these policemen, it was just such a horrible thing to imagine that the UN endorses Uganda and at the same time it is investigating Uganda. Uganda, which has plundered, actually exported insecurity in the entire Great Lakes region, starting from where the insecurity within Uganda, going to Rwanda, when they shot down the plane which was carrying the late President Habyarimana and his colleague from Burundi and all these Frenchmen, and that sparked off the genocide. And then they exported, the same Uganda exported the insecurity to Congo. Congo is now, if you read the article, that is the center for rape. Girls as young as 3 years have been raped in Congo because of the insecurity which has been exported by Uganda. And right now, they're in South Sudan. How can you, honestly, how can you reward such a government with all the corruption, with all the oppression that it is doing on the opposition? They have gagged the opposition. They have even made laws to justify themselves so that the opposition cannot go out and campaign. And so how do you reward a country like this with all its corruption, nepotism, with all the pain it is giving to its people and exporting beyond its borders? How can you reward it by giving it to the Foreign Affairs Minister to chair the United Nations General Assembly, which will even include, it means he's going to chair President Obama and all these people who have done their best to ensure justice and freedom in their own countries. I mean, where is the honesty in the UN?
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, the Congo, the rape capital of the world. My fellow Ugandans, whether you're in the country or outside, the rape capital of the world, that means the rapes there are just off the charts. You could take all of the whole world and you wouldn't have as many rapes as every country, and you wouldn't have as many rapes that occur there. When you go to a 3-year old, that is very, very sad. And you're right. This man has thumbed his nose at the rest of the world to say that I will do as I please, and yet he feels that the world should bow down and accept this minister being put in a position over great leaders who have fought very diligently and very hard in their country for freedom of justice, rights, liberties for all the people. Dorothy, go ahead and chime in here on that conversation.
Thank you so much, Miss Brenda, and thank you so much, Honorable Bakeko, for your insight, ladies. Now, this brings such pain because when we talk about the raped city of Congo, for our regular listeners to the Voice of Uganda Radio, we've been good. People do research. You've listened to the people of Congo speaking, not from Miss Brenda, not from Honorable Bakoko, but you have listened to the clips of the Congolese speaking terrible things done to them. They have raped women, they have raped kids, but they have raped fellow men. Okay? And traumatized everybody to make sure that village by village, when they leave, nothing can stay. The husband cannot look into his wife's eyes and say he wasn't able to save him. And look at his little children and say, baby, there is nothing I could do. And these people, they went on mission Museveni's way. They are HIV positive. Okay? All these atrocities. For Congo, Museveni, you cannot deny it. The ICC, Uganda owes Congo $10 billion in damages. What are we doing? This is a disgrace. It cannot happen. So, when we talk about Congo, when we talk about Rwanda, when we talk about Southern Sudan, really those men, Sam Kutesa, you are the top spokesperson of President Museveni. And I think now that's what he's trying to do. Wash away, thinking that by making sure Sam Kutesa makes it to be the chairman of the UN General Assembly, he will be able to wash away what Museveni has done. The same way Kagame escaped with so many crimes for a long time. Nobody could do anything because they have a seat on the UN National Security Council. What is going on here? I would like to know those members of the African Union who say, because the news says that United Nations General Assembly supported what is going on. The AU, African Union Executive Council, anonymously chose Sam Kutesa to be the next one. They anointed him. What about what has happened in Uganda? Does it make it okay for these people to represent the world where real politicians sit who have made progress, who have made justice possible to be commanded by Kutesa? President Obama is sitting and Kutesa is presiding? How could that be? Miss Brenda,
I think it's an insult to the world. Yeah, I think it's an insult to the world, not even to the United States of America, but it's an insult to the world that has come together for peace. And for
Yes.
reasoning with their own people, it doesn't make any sense to me.
What happened to human rights? Museveni, the genocide in northern Uganda, the killing of Ugandan people. People die. Museveni decides who lives, who dies. You know, you have seen it. People don't have a right to protest. Public management bill, no opposition. They have no right to assemble. You've been following what's going on with the Lukwago, who was elected by the people. No justice. This is no hiding, nothing. Every Ugandan well-wishers, the world, please, if you have not signed the petition, please go to Blackster News and sign this petition. This is a responsibility. It has to be done. Please, Lord, don't put us to shame. Sam Kutesa, you have stolen from the children of Uganda, embezzling funds. How could this be, Miss Brenda? The Ugandan airport was handed to Sam Kutesa worth $1, $1 US. Wow. The man took the airport. This is government assets that they shared among them. They did share these assets among themselves. The taxpayers, they don't have nothing, no hospitals, no medicine, no nothing. Sam Kutesa owns the whole airport, and he takes every penny.
Yeah, and let me just run a question by Zoe here to come in on this, because that is a terrible thing. There is so much corruption in this country. We have this man has no shame, and the public management bill, Zoe, works in favor for some and not in favor for others. So this man would say that the whole continent of Uganda needs to be quiet, but yet we would give him a voice so loud to be heard around the world in the United Nations Assembly, and he would have no shame. I think these articles, I think these petitions should show him that he's not welcome. Nor is the sitting president in Uganda right now. Comment on that, if you will, Zoe.
Thank you, Miss Brenda, and thank you very much, Miss Dorothy. It breaks my heart even to talk about this, because this is the same question I asked during the meeting where you and me met, Opportunity Africa, in the Chess Center on the 10th of March. Yes. Where was this man who is the Foreign Affairs Minister, the voice for Uganda internationally? Where was he when President Museveni pushed Parliament to enact these laws, like the Public Order Management Act, the Anti-Homosexuality Act, and the other one, which the Anti-Pornography Act? Where was he when they were enacting these laws? He did not even raise his voice. At least Honorable Mbabazi raised his voice and said, go slow on the anti-homosexuality law. But Kutesa has never, not even once, said these are wrong. And now he is going to be rewarded, and he is going to come to chair the United Nations General Assembly. I mean, we don't even have to enumerate all the things, but he was there in Parliament. Not even once did he oppose it. Not even in the papers did we see his voice to say that, he in himself respects human rights of others. So how does such a person who promotes hate go and chair the United Nations General Assembly?
Yeah, he's been silent to all the atrocities and all the corruption and all the things that have happened in Uganda. But now he wants to speak and he wants us to listen?
Unbelievable, because, it's like, do what I say, but not what I do.
Yes.
And that is not right. You cannot keep quiet to all the things that have been happening in your country. Not even step out to say, I am sorry. Nothing.
I
Not
think
even apologize. He is not contrite, nothing, and he has to be rewarded. And then come and clean out Museveni's mess at international level and come and tell people that everything is all right. I don't know.
I think his visa will be revoked for a lot of reasons because we've revoked other visas to not allow these type of things to happen. Nowhere in the free world should anyone sit aside and allow this man to stand up to represent the world. It would like be putting Hitler up there to represent the world and for us to listen to him and a nod to the things that he has to say. I think the only person that this man should be put in front of to stand to answer questions to is the world as to all the atrocities, all the rapes, all of the corruption, all the tarnation, everything that's happening there in Uganda. You cannot force something like this down the throats of the world and think that we're going to stand by and just silently allow this to unfold. I mean, the sitting president Museveni has had no respect for any of us as nations, not just in Uganda, and not just in America, but he has turned his nose up to the world to say, I will run my country and I will do as I bid. And then you want us to say, okay, by allowing this man to stand in front of the United Nations to represent Uganda for all of the atrocities? It would be like we all put a gun in our own hands and went into Uganda and started firing at will at civilians that are innocent in every way.
The guy's arrogance is just unbelievable. Unprecedented. Look at what he said on the weekend when he was walking around claiming he was touring the city. He says that he's thanking the city councillors for throwing out the Lord Mayor Lukwago. Lukwago was legally elected and by a popular majority in Kampala to be their Lord Mayor. And he has been the one fighting the Lord Mayor. We thought it was Kaihura, and we discussed this before and said Kaihura was doing this for who? For Museveni. We thought it was Jennifer Musisi. We said Jennifer Musisi is doing this for Museveni. Finally, Museveni came out on the weekend and said, thank you very much for throwing out Lukwago. And that Lukwago, you people elected a tiny little dog which goes on barking at an elephant. Museveni, in that article, even he likened himself to Christ. It's just amazing what kind of person he is. Because,
and the language of the president.
The language he uses is unpresidential because it's not worth the language which should be used by a leader. And he talks about a little dog. It means all the people who elected Lukwago in the city, all of them are little dogs.
Wow.
What Museveni has forgotten is that even in the Bible, David actually killed Goliath, who was a huge, if you could use that analogy, David was the little dog and Goliath was the elephant. You could also use the analogy in the rainforests of Congo. Those little bambotes, they are called the pygmies. They are tiny. And those tiny pygmies have killed huge elephants. They will hide behind the tree, and this huge elephant, you know how proud they are and walking. And this little mambote, the pygmy, with his sharp knife, will just slice the abdomen of the elephant. And what happens? He pulls the intestine and ties it on this rope, on this tree. And this huge elephant continues to walk until it falls because it will be bleeding. The intestine is coming, everything is coming out. he's even oblivious of it because he's too proud and he knows he's the huge, the giant of the forest.
Yeah,
And
so what
within a
you're
few minutes,
Yeah, so what you're
those,
saying, be careful of the small things in life because
yeah.
those are the things that sometimes can be the most dangerous. Zoe,
Have
we have
you?
a call coming in. Let me go ahead and let this caller ask you the question they want to. Hey, caller, are you there? Come on in with your
Yes,
question.
yes. Good morning. Good morning, Honorable Bakoko, and good morning, Dorothy. And it's same to you, Miss Brenda. My name is Sana, and I'm calling to say happy Easter for everybody who celebrates this day. Yes, Ms. Bakoko, you're right about what the things the president said regarding Kampala State Council, meeting where he had. Where he was talking about all those things about elephants and the small dogs. The most interesting thing is that most people say that this man is going to give up power through election. What he said during that time reveals a lot. He said that how can small dogs fight an elephant? And one of those small dogs is supposed to be the leader of the major opposition group, FDC. He called Chizaves a small dog. So which means that a small dog will never win election. We have a serious election winner and a serious election rigger. And this is not going to change by having this made up, election to make people believe that, yes, true democracy has taken root in Uganda. I'm not sure if, Honorable Bakoko, you're aware of this or any Ms. Dorothy. This project, the ID project, voter ID, we do understand that a lot of people that surround the Rwanda border, from Rwanda area, from that country, have been already given these ID cards before the actual Ugandans were given cards, and we also understand those same cards were issued to northern South Sudan. Those people are ready to come and vote, and some of the cards were also issued in Congo. Now, if anybody really think that we are going to have an election with this serial winner of election, there's something wrong that people have to understand. We have to get this man out by all means, and most likely people should come and contest and look for what they want, because small dogs, if they come in patches, in groups, we've seen what they can do. Mr. Museveni must be sick or must be not understanding that if small dogs come in a group, they can take down an elephant. We have seen it on Discovery channels, where we have these small dogs, wild dogs, coming together to bring down a large animal. So, Mr. President, if you can hear me, you're mistaken. These small dogs, they are on a mission. These small dogs, we are determined to get the elephant down. Now, talking about elections, I think our country has been flooded by foreigners, and this is not something to brush around. We have so many people from South Sudan, and this is not a joke. So many. Last time there were over 78,000 people. This is the number that's known by the press, but the number is so high that people are flocking from South Sudan to Uganda. We have people coming from Zaire, from DRC to Uganda. We have people coming from Rwanda to Uganda. We, the owner of the country, we are not even going to be able to realize who we are, because we have a regime that is determined to stay in power at any cost by letting foreigners come in our country, by letting foreign individuals participate in our political system. And we, the owner of the country, we are sitting by, we are letting this idiot, I call him an idiot, Sam Kutesa, to be fronted as the candidate for the presidency of the United Nations. We should not stand. Kutesa himself is corrupt to the bone, corrupt to the core. Kutesa himself, as people say, that he's more richer than the government of Uganda, how can we let these bandits, how can we let these thieves, a man who collects money from the airport, the national airport, Sam Kutesa had no right to get that national airport and take it as his own business. These are the fake investors that this crazy man Museveni gives to Ugandans and tells us that he's going to bring investors. And these investors, by the name of Sam Kutesa, they go and take structures that are already available, national structures, and they take them as their own. Sam Kutesa and I forgot another guy, I think Kano Mujenyi. Mujenyi also took the Nakaso market as his own property. These are the things that Ugandans should stand up and let's fight for our nation. I'm calling on all Ugandans to come up together. We small dogs, let's show this man that small dogs, if we are together, if we are banded together, yes, we will bring down this corrupt regime. Now, finally, Ms. Honorable Bakoko, this is about the northern area of Uganda, Gulu. I am very proud of some of what has happened in the north, because according to what we read in the news, 4 area MP in the north were given 4 million shillings each to go and popularize this Chankwan's resolution, and a lot of people in the north have rejected this flatly, and it has fallen its nose or its face. The same thing that has happened in the south, in the west, in Ankole, people have rejected this idea of the sole candidate of Museveni. I am asking to anybody, I'm asking anyone who's listening to Musana today, I'm calling all small dogs, 37 small dogs, please let's band together and bring the elephant down. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for the Voice of Uganda Radio, and thank you so much for a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Musana. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Zoe, go ahead and answer some of the things that he had to share, and we'll let Dorothy follow up on that. Go ahead.
Well, I think my brother Musana has really put up this very well. He has said all the small dogs come together. You know, yes. The hyenas, when the hyenas band together, trust me, they are going to throw out.
Yes.
They'll bring down a huge animal and they will share the spoil. So for me, I think the president using those very unpresidential language, that's been his language anyway. He has never learned, even for the 30 years of being in power, that he from his colleagues, or even that he could have changed his language. He's always been an improved villager and continued to use that language. It's a very, very unfortunate thing, because that should not happen. And I mean, what can you do? You can. How do they say it? You can change the word in a man and never remove the village from him. Yeah. So, yeah, that is really the situation. And
you can take a man out of the village, but you can never take the village out of the man.
Perfect. But yes. Even the villagers have better language than what he has, because I don't understand how a whole head of state can stand without shame, without any iota of a silent voice in his mind, that silent voice which always makes us know what is right and wrong, and stand in front of public television and say things which are going to be read all over the world, and call people human beings, and call an elected leader a small dog, or call a doctor. I mean, forget about Besigye being the leader of opposition. If it were not for Besigye, Museveni would not even be alive today. Is that the way does this man honestly have in himself a little fiber of morality? Because Dr. Besigye is the one who saved his life in the bush.
No grateful. There's no gratitude in this man for anything that anyone
And now
does.
he wants us to be grateful and put his foreign minister to chair the UN General Assembly of men who matter, who understand what morality, what right and wrong is, who understand what human rights is, who understand that there should be no corruption, and he is going to chair them. Where is the shame?
Yes. Dorothy, go ahead and chime in on this, if you will, because you had a great story about the hyena. You know, just the example of how they come in very simple. But
you know what? I don't know,
heroes.
but it always Mr. Musana speaks to my heart. I am telling you. I was just sitting here and I'm like, oh my God. Wasn't he right about the hyenas? But he knew the many hyenas. Anyway, first of all, I would like to say that Mr. Musana went back a little bit about Kutesa. Sam Kutesa, he's not only being quiet, and he's being quiet. You know, he's a top spokesperson, but he also advises himself. He has not only been quiet in what has been going on, but as far as corruption, I'm sorry, ladies, I'm not letting him off the hook because I intend to mention some things here. Okay? As far as the corruption is concerned, he's the number one participant. Okay? We cannot leave that, and we cannot jump that. Okay? He's a participant. After being handed over the Olo Ugandan National Airport, right? This man has been stealing, embezzling, and Museveni has been busy covering him up. Let us talk about the arrogance. If you remember, during the Chogam scandal, he was there. Let us talk about the oil scandal, the tool, that money, those millions of dollars. He was a top player, all right? But the way Kutesa, you could remember those S signs he could make when he's going to court and the trials, and himself, and they are busy trying to make sure that the witnesses, they don't come up, halting everything. The man who can get the taxpayers' money and use it to renovate his own hotel. The man who can take the oil money, scandal after scandal. The man who took the Chogam money. Everywhere Museveni is just there behind, supporting him, making sure he gets getting him off the hook so that they protect their wealth. And then you go to the internet here, and he's portrayed as a politician and a self-made millionaire. Self-made what? Where? This is the public poor Ugandans' money that these people are stealing. And let me pose a question here. Miss Brenda, Honorable Zoe, what integrity, what is there to be proud of that this man is taking to the UN General Assembly? What lessons, what has he done? What is he taking? What does he have to show up there other than protecting Museveni and try to wash away what Museveni has done? Because this is the idea.
He really will not wash it away. He's just going to cover it up and pretend. They want to show the world and the people of Uganda that he is in the UN and that Museveni, with all the bad things he has done in the country, nobody cares, not even the world. And the world still looks at him as a very credible leader. That's what they want to prove, but it's not true.
Yeah, and it won't happen. I guarantee you it won't happen. Because answer this for me, ladies. I'm sitting here and I'm puzzled. You're telling me that this man owns the airport and he purchased it for $1 and all of the corruption that goes through there. Yet I read an article a couple of weeks ago where the employees of the airport were on strike because they weren't getting paid. So I talk about corruption. How can you be getting this much money from this and you're not paying the employees?
The airport you got for free. You can't even pay the employees. And
that's
then
very sad. That's very sad to me.
These people have no moral fiber in their bodies. They don't care about anybody. They will take out all the billions even if they don't give nothing. There are teachers who have never been paid. There are people in the airport who have never been paid. And they, just a few weeks ago, all the money they took and gave, like Musana was saying, to the members of parliament to go and popularize Museveni's 2016 sole candidate bid for president. I mean, what kind
And then
of
he slashed the budget for education. They're already crying in tears, but he slashed that budget for that reason.
The purpose of the ID project, which Mr. Musana was talking about, why do you think Museveni has been exporting a lot of wars within the region? So that there are a lot of refugees in Uganda, and he pretends that he loves these refugees. And so the refugees think they have been given a haven, and so in gratitude, they are going to vote for Museveni. Then there are all these soldiers, in quote, the numbers, who have been sent out to fight in Rwanda, to fight in Congo, to fight in Central African Republic, to fight in Sudan. All these soldiers are going to, they are not, you don't have in Uganda, like in Obote's time and Idi Amin's time, where soldiers were stationed in barracks and their numbers were known. And so all these soldiers, you remember sometime back, General Sejusa talked about them doctoring the election results. So this ID project is not going to make it any better, because you have all these unknown people like the soldiers, the refugees, so-called in quote, who are all going to have these IDs and they will be voting. And all the same, those are the people whose numbers are going to doctor the election results from Museveni. Museveni, we know now, is not popular in Uganda. Nobody would give him their votes.
No one will give him their votes. And this ID program, like you're saying, these refugees may be grateful now, but it will turn into sorrow, because these same people that vote for him, he's going to put a gun in their hand and send them out in a war to die for him and not care whether they live or die or whether they come back from that war. It's the same repetitive thing. He continues to feed the people what they need to give him the power he wants, and then he uses that power against the people to take away their very life that he gave them.
That's right. He's the same person who says, don't go and shoot at innocent targets. He abuses the former government for their brutality, for the violence, and he's practicing the same thing. And during those governments, it was him, his own tricks, doing all these terrible violent acts so that the governments were discredited in the eyes of the Ugandan people, and at the same time in the eyes of the international community. And he has continued. That's why he will never divorce himself from violence. He will never, because he is generally a violent person. Just listen to his language. He said if the Besiges and Lukwagos ever went and disturbed his cows in Rwatura, he would bring out his spear and spear them. He says that in public. So he is by nature a violent person. And there's no wonder that he has never made Uganda peaceful since he took power.
Never has Uganda seen
and he has never made the entire region peaceful since he has been in power. Since he has been in power, Sudan is unpeaceful, Congo is unpeaceful, and so is Rwanda, and so is Burundi. And now he even infiltrated Kenya, the only country which he has failed to infiltrate is Tanzania, because
so
those people know him.
Yeah, so you're telling me that every country that he's had a chance to put his foot in, he's corrupted it or caused war in it in some way or another.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So run when you see him coming, because if he's doing this to these countries, what makes any of the rest of us think that we're okay? Which is why this must not happen. The visa has to be revoked. The Federal Alliance for Democracy and Development in Uganda says, let me just hit on this real quick because we were talking about the ID program. This man takes programs that have worked in other countries, but then he tweaks it to work for him, not for the people. One of the things we understand here is that we have to tweak things to work for the Ugandan people. We have an ID program in the United States of America, as I'm sure the rest of the world does as well. But there is accountability. You are a citizen. We want to know where you were born, who you were born to, what state you live in, what state you will be voting in. You can't just vote all around for wherever you're at. You have to sign up with a party. You're either Democrat or you're Republican. I mean, there is accountability for the way the ID program works throughout the free world. But in Uganda, if you tell me there are refugees coming in and he's bringing all these foreigners in, a foreigner in the United States of America has no rights to vote until it becomes a citizen. And when it becomes a citizen, it has to show proof of citizenship in order to get that document. That document is not something that somebody goes out in a village with a handful of and hands it out to people. That is a document that legal documentation has to come in to state why you're able to be a part of the participant of voting for a president. And at that point in time, you are given that document. But the way they're going about it, you're right. I don't see how anyone can say that this man will be voted in on merits when he's going about it in a way in which is totally illegal. Dorothy, what do you think of that?
He's never been. He's used all these soldiers to vote in different places, whether they're in Congo, whether they're in Sudan, and then you don't know how many soldiers are in what country. And so they actually botch the numbers, and that is how they inflate the figures, and they pretend that the guy has won when he has not won at all.
At all. Dorothy, come in on that, if you will.
Miss Brenda, we need to remember, Honorable Zoe, that billions and billions of dollars were borrowed for the first phase of the ID cards. When they were launched, I remember it was a German company because it was a big scandal. Nobody can forget it. It was about 350 billion. It was a lot. It was a very big figure, okay? What Museveni did, Museveni, Kutesa, Mbabazi, and a few others got themselves national, even took pictures. Yeah? And that was the end of it. The rest of the money, Miss Brenda, they took. Now they went back, they got another loan. Now we have another phase of ID coming. But I'm telling you this, there is no true citizen of Uganda who does not support Museveni who get that ID card. Those ID cards, they are given to those immigrants. They are given to people who will be sitting on buses from Burundi and Rwanda. Last election, we had before Tanzania just got tough and say, please, if you don't belong here, get out. But last election, we got buses from Tanzania. The Rwandese who were in Tanzania with the ID cards, they came to vote. Okay? We have these Chinese, we have the Indians. Okay? All these people have ID cards. So here we go again. Why do these people have ID cards? As you say, they have the gratitude of the president of Uganda. Okay? They have to do what he says. The true citizens don't care about him. He knows it, and he told you a mere paper is not getting him out of power. So this is his card. Ugandans will not get them because the amount of money they're asking for these ID cards, Miss Brenda, the Ugandan people, the true children of Uganda are so poor. They won't even afford to buy these IDs, to pay for them.
Let me tell you the history
so
of
let me go ahead and take this caller, and then we're going to let you go into your comment there. Caller, go ahead. You're on with Miss Dorsey, Brenda, and the Honorable Zoe Bakoko. Go ahead with your question.
Wonderful morning. Happy Easter to all of you. This is Chiwanuka Nsereko from New York.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I've been listening to you, ladies. Thank you for informing Ugandans. And I've been provoked to call in more so because of what Dorothy was talking about at the very last. Because I am a direct victim of the manipulations of the elections by the Museveni dictatorship. When I ran for office for the Constituent Assembly as an advocate for the political pluralism, at one of the polling stations in Makindye Barracks zone in Kampala, where we had 241 registered voters, the total ballot cast from that polling center was 614 votes.
Wow.
So you can see that the voter turnout was boosted by basically 100%. So we had 150% voter turnout at a polling station that is supposed to be in the state center where people are elites. Therefore, as we discuss the elections for 2016, unless the primary condition is that the cabal of thugs, this cabal of thugs that are presiding over the administrative authority in Uganda have to be out of control of it. If that comes to pass, then we can talk about 2016 elections. But as long as people who are thieves by birth, the thuggery, the thieving in the Museveni ruling group is congenital. It's inborn. You can see it. If you look around, you're going to find that the daughters of Museveni are now the primary suppliers of military uniforms and the police uniforms, and they are supplying low quality and less amount. So when it comes to the idea of being corrupt and stealing national resources, the Museveni regime has gone beyond its par excellence in this field. Therefore, I think we need to refocus ourselves, and our demands should be very direct. As I have stated before, we do not need to equivocate when it comes to the idea of having the Museveni government turned over. The government must be removed from control primarily. Then we can think about what to do. And for me, this is my primary call to all Ugandans. Madame Zoe Bakoko might be more informed, having stayed a little bit closer to these people who have, by the end of the day, have forced an industrialist woman out of the country because they wanted her to help them steal money. And what is a bigger shame for me today is that we are looking 2 months to June, that we are going to be electing someone whose criminality is so obvious, is so abundant, is readily available and documented to be the president of the UN. This is not only an insult to the institution of the United Nations, which was founded for the primary purpose of guaranteeing and safeguarding people's basic and fundamental human rights. The gentleman I'm talking about is Sam Kahamba Kutesa. Sam Kahamba Kutesa, who unfortunately in the days gone by represented me as a lawyer. He's a very brilliant man, but his brilliance has actually been extended into the crafty job of being a primary thief in Uganda. Today, as we speak, Kahamba Kutesa is approximately worth about $800 million as a person.
Wow.
Okay. This person did not accumulate this money between 1973 and 1986 when he was practicing law and a member of parliament. He has become this filthy rich in the last 30 years of Museveni's rule. One thing that is not known to many people why Kutesa is a darling of Yoweri Museveni, whereas in the 1980 election that took place on 10th December 1980, Kutesa beat Yoweri Museveni in Mbarara North constituency, and Museveni came back empty-handed. When Museveni ascended to power in 1986, Kutesa was the Attorney General of the Rutwa government, and by that time he was still a decent soul. He was there on the ticket of the Democratic Party. When Museveni came to power, the Democratic Party still suggested Sam Kutesa to be the Attorney General. Yoweri Museveni refused to accept Sam Kutesa because he was still bitter at him for having beaten him in 1980. Now, something interesting happened. When the NRA ascended to power or captured power on the 25th of January or 26th of January, as they want us to believe, they did not process proclamation in number 1 declaring themselves a formal government. As a result, they were in power for 4 months without being a legitimate government. It took Sam Kutesa to discover this. The Attorney General at that time had been a colleague of Sam Kutesa in their chambers. And Kutesa contacted him, and then they connected him to the president, and the Kutesa informed Museveni that your government is illegal. As a result, Museveni was very happy with the Kutesa for not having just gone public that the government had been in power for 4 months with educated people, but without having passed proclamation in number 1. And the proclamation in number 1 was then passed retrogressively. And this is where Kutesa starts talking to Museveni. But briefly, let me say who Kutesa is and how far he's been involved in corruption. We know that he has at one time been forced to resign because of the Chogam case, where the quick count tells us that he had stolen approximately $4 million, and the way he obtained this money was through the purchase of vehicles that were going to be used during the Chogam conference. But he was not the one who was supposed to be responsible. He just used a shadow company to do this. He is also the one who actually robbed the whole nation of Uganda of the properties of the Uganda Airlines. Today, Kutesa is the principal owner of NHAS, the handling company at Entebbe Airport, which he acquired from the Uganda government for less than $25. And I mean 25. Count 1 to 20, then add 5. 25 US dollars. And he acquired it. He has accumulated so much wealth despite the very poor service at Entebbe Airport through this process. The public accounts, the auditor's report in Uganda has clearly said that the process which Kutesa conducted through the procurement process was fraud, marred with irregularities, and Kutesa should not hold a public office again. But he continues to do so. So, my friends, we have someone who is coming into the UN with this background, and I fully believe that the nation of Uganda will be served negatively. Not only the nation of Uganda, but this is like sending a bull into the China shop. And we know why they went out and bribed cabinet ministers from all of Africa to propose Kutesa for the UN. This is a process to evade the pending case that is going to happen at the ICC against Yoweri Museveni and a few of his thieving gang. This is what Kutesa is trying to do. This is why he's running to the UN, so that he can start effectively lobbying to make sure that there are no charges drawn up against the regime in Kampala at the ICC. I want to appeal to the people of the global community that this time around we need to be very serious. Last week, the US, rightly so, stood the ground and denied the Iranian appointed ambassador a visa to come and represent the Iran at the UN because he was involved in the takeover of the US embassy in Iran when the Ayatollah was, the Shah was being overthrown. So we should use the same principle and say no to a foreign affairs minister who is a foreign affair of a minister of a government that has repeatedly invaded and extended violence into the Great Lakes region. We are not only talking about the approximately 80,000 people who were killed in Rwanda, but we should talk about the 5 million people who have been killed in the Congo. And for these 5 million people, Uganda has been actually taken to the International Court of Judicature, and they've been convicted and are judged for $10 billion they have to pay to Congo. This happened on the watch of Yoweri Museveni, but supervised by his friend now, Samuel Kahamba Kutesa. We cannot allow such filth to run down the hill and collect on the Hudson River at the UN Secretariat. Yes. That is unacceptable. So citizens of the world, this is not about citizens of Uganda, citizens of the world, as a people, we must stand our ground and at least let's not allow this vermin, this dirt, to move and bring itself to soil the credibility of the UN. This is my appeal. It's not an appeal that only goes to Ugandans, but Ugandans as a people, we need to voice this more than anybody else, because once it comes to be found out, we will be accused of conspiring to destroy the credibility of the UN. I am concerned that Kutesa might ascend if we do not move and call everyone we can call and talk to. So here it is. Ugandans should be calling, if you are in England, call the Foreign Affairs Office Ministry in London. If you are here in the US, write to John Kelly. Call the ambassadors wherever you are of the US and other influential members, primarily those on the UN Security Council, that let Africa find another person to come and represent it at the UN for their chairmanship. There are decent countries like Tanzania and Botswana that are relatively more democratic than the way Uganda is. Uganda is involved in Southern Sudan, and Southern Sudan is going to be on the agenda of the UN this year. So how are you going to have Kutesa, who is an interested party in Southern Sudan, where people are being mercilessly killed, chairing the meeting. This is unacceptable. I thank you, my sisters, for this forum, and I wish you all the best in our deliberations. Let's hope we will be able to stop this tide from wiping out the credibility of the UN. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in and your comments. We're going to take a quick break here, just for a few minutes. When we come back, we're going to let Zoe comment on the comments of the caller that just called in, and then we'll go to Dorothy. But we're going to give you just a 5-minute break here because I want everyone to know that we're rounding down the first hour of Freedom at Hand here on Voice Uganda Radio, and we will be back shortly with the second half of Voice Uganda Radio. We're just going to take a few-minute break here. We'll be right back.
Gwe omulungi atuuliriza kino kirango kya njawulo amanyi n'eddoboozi nze Muga James chairman ow'akakiiko akateesiteesi ak'omukolo okugenda okukyaza Katikkiro mu Bungereza. Charles Peter Mayiga Katikkiro wa Buganda yakkiriza era yakakasa olugendo lwe olw'okulambula bannayuganda ne Abaganda abali mu nsi ez'enjawulo. Mu nteekateeka eno Katikkiro agenda kulambula UK, agendeko Sweden, agendeko Canada, agendeko mu USA. Mu nteekateeka eno naffe tulina omukisa munene nnyo okusonda ettofaali okuzza Buganda ku ntikko. Pulogulaamu egenda kutambula etya? Pulogulaamu etambula bw'eti: ng'ennaku z'omwezi 23 August ali mu UK ku Harris Academy, oluvannyuma yeekoneko mu bika by'Abaganda. Bw'avaayo agende Sweden ng'ennaku z'omwezi 26 okutuuka ng'ennaku z'omwezi 28 mu August omwaka guno. Bw'avaayo ajja kuba nga yeekonako e Toronto mu Canada ng'ennaku z'omwezi 29 okutuuka ng'ennaku z'omwezi 30. Bw'avaayo agende Chicago 31 mu August okutuukira ddala nga 4 September. Bw'avaayo agendeko mu Boston mu America okuva ng'ennaku z'omwezi 4 okutuuka ng'ennaku z'omwezi 8. Katikkiro asuubira okudda e Uganda ng'ennaku z'omwezi 9 mu September omwaka guno. Guno gwe mukisa gwaffe okulaga obwagazi bwaffe erinnyaffe Buganda. Ng'okumanya ebisingawo osobola okukyalira omukutu gwaffe friendsofbuganda.org.uk. Sonda ensimbi ezo ezinayamba okuddaabiriza amasiro ate n'embuga z'amasaza ag'enjawulo okuzza Buganda ku ntikko. Charles Peter Mayiga agenda kuba nga atukyalira ate goberera enteekateeka ez'enjawulo mu nsi ezo z'emmenye, n'abakulu abateesiteesi bajja kuba nga bakutegeeza ebigenda mu maaso.
Kabaka wapeke kabonero akalaga nti Katonda ne Buganda omwoyo gugube gudimira kabaka wange.
This is Pamela Jenkins from the United States of America. Ugandans, fight for your freedom. You are listening to Voice of Uganda.
Hello, this is Moses from Jacksonville, Florida of the United States of America, and you are listening to VOA, Voice of Uganda Radio.
Omuntu
much for coming back and joining us on this second half of the second hour of Freedom at Hand here at Voice Uganda Radio. I have been your host, Miss Brenda, along with the Honorable Zoe Bakoko and Madam Dorothy, who have been co-hosting this with me this morning. Let's go right on back into this, Zoe, because we are down to our last hour, and if anyone wants to call and be a part of the conversation we're having here, please do so during this hour. And try not to wait too close to the end. Zoe, I'm going to let you start in on the comments with what our caller had to say just before we went on break. And then we'll go on into Dorothy because he had a lot of good issues and a lot of things to say there, and I would like for you to elaborate on some of them.
I will just say that I'm really grateful to my brother Chuanuka Nsereko from New York. He elaborated these issues very, very clearly, and he spoke about how he has been a victim of Museveni's rigging. And you can see, he says in Machinde they had registered 240 voters, but the people who voted were 614. That's exactly what I was saying. In these barracks, these are the places where they have inflated figures for people who vote, and most of them are ghost voters. They don't exist. And so these are the votes which are counted from 7. Even if the number of voters was 240, they could easily justify and say that, you know what, these soldiers had gone to northern Uganda, they returned to vote in Machinde, which is not true. They just move things around, and all these soldiers in different so-called barracks, because there are no stationary people who stay now in these barracks like before, no homes. They have those Mama Ngia Pole houses which they remove anytime, and these people are always on the go. And so that is why Museveni will never, ever, ever have peace in Uganda, because that is how he gets the number of voters for rigging his elections. And then on the issue of thieving by his family, you can just clearly see, even although he has put his son, which is nepotism, to head the presidential brigade, the military, he again appointed his wife as the minister in charge of Karamoja. His brother is a presidential advisor, at one time a minister, and then his daughters are the ones doing the business to the contracts for bringing in, by purchasing uniforms. Oh my God, how low can you go? This is, Uganda has become a personal and family business. It's no longer a country anyway. And then he talks about Sam Kutesa. In 6th Parliament, Sam Kutesa was censored with one of his colleagues, Jim Wezi, who was also a minister of education. Sam Kutesa was actually censored because of NHAS. This same thing you are talking about, this company he uses to manage whatever is happening in the airport. The airport is dirty. There are a lot of spiders, webs and everything. It doesn't look like an international airport. It brings in a lot of money, but no money is put in improving that airport. Neither is it in, we were just talking about the workers not even being paid. And so somebody like this, Sam Kutesa, actually became a friend of Museveni after he beat Museveni in the 1980 elections, where Museveni was very bitter. He became his friend, let me tell you, because the wives are cousins, they are sisters. The late wife and Janet Museveni were sisters. And what did these two women do? They decided that Sam Kutesa's daughter marries Museveni's son, Muhoozi. That's how they cemented that relationship. And then with all this corruption and things going on, their relationship became stronger and stronger. They became really players in crime. You wouldn't even call it real friendship, even though the other wife died. And now with the kids being married. They are now like father-in-laws together. And so they keep on supporting themselves in all these things. And I'm very sure Honorable Kutesa participated very much in the bribery process in going out in African Union to stop Africa from fronting another candidate who could have been a credible person to chair the African Union. Let me give you a history of the ID project. I'm the one who started the ID project. And what we wanted was for NSSF to take the ID project as a program or a project for NSSF to raise money. And when we started this, Museveni and his cohorts, they took over this process because they wanted to make money out of it. We were going to do a decent job. It would have been an independent project whereby people would have been registered, there would have been checks and balances and accountability. But when in cabinet, they realized that I wanted to do this decent project, they grabbed it and gave it to internal affairs. And you know how corrupt even the passport project has been in internal affairs. You have known how corrupt the police is. How could internal affairs handle this project when it didn't? And they said, no, Minister of Gender, that is not your project. But we had wanted to handle this through Minister of Labor and do it, but they denied it. And now you can see how messed up the entire thing is. But I did not realize it then. Now I know that they didn't want it, one, because of the money which they wanted to steal. Number two, because they wanted to use this project so that they can rig the elections.
Wow. Dorothy, go ahead and comment on what the caller had to say, and Zoe.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brenda. Thank you so much, Honorable. All our callers, the listeners, once again. Now, starting from that point of elections. Now, they use this money to steal and make IDs for the foreigners to come in and take over Uganda. My cry today, mothers, women of Uganda and the world, our friends, please help us. Here, we need the help to save the children of Uganda.
Yes.
Museveni will not wake up one day and say, I'm done. For sure, for me, what I see, it doesn't matter. Museveni is damned when he do, he's damned when he doesn't. But that doesn't mean that he will stop fighting for his life. When you look at the things that he's doing right now, he's fighting for his life. He's fighting to protect what they have stolen. There is no, in his mind, he does not have a space for any Ugandan that one day you have a decent life. We just have to wake up and do what we have to do. As far as elections are concerned, when you stand up, the president of a country, and mention the Lord Mayor of the city that was elected by the people, and the leader of the opposition, and those MPs that have stood up for justice, for the truth, and you call them the little stupid dogs that try to hunt the elephant. Little stupid dogs that are trying to hunt the elephant. Yes, Museveni, you are an elephant. You have been for 28 years since President Reagan was leading in the U.S. here. Yes, you have been the lion, but I'm telling you, they have gave you good analogies. That lion will go down. The reason why the lion had to come to Kampala City The lion was so agitated. I'm telling you, those little dogs, they are doing a very good job. Those little stupid dogs you named them 7, they are doing a very good job of agitating you. And my call for all those little dogs who voted for Lukwago, because they were so many, they voted him into the office. And you have used taxpayers' money to give people money and corrupt. And you deny Ugandans' basic needs in order to chase Lukwago out of office. My fellow Ugandans will never forget the reason Museveni is chasing Lukwago out of office is because Lukwago is asking for accountability. Billions and billions of dollars are being swindled in Kampala. The land in Kampala is very expensive. Museveni uses Jennifer and the others, the police, Kawes. You people, you are born in Uganda. Lukwago is being tortured for doing the right thing. But let me tell you, you stupid little dogs that are chasing the elephant, keep it up. You just have to be so many. We need to be so many because we are 35 million, or 34, or 33. Please, little stupid dogs, get up. We need to agitate that elephant. You've seen hyenas. If you go to Animal Channel, you know what a hyena is. When they come together, you know what they can do to an elephant. You know what they can do to a lion. No kidding. Get up, small little dogs of Uganda, and get to that elephant. It will go. You will kill it, or you will get it and take it where it's supposed to be. It is agitated. That's why it came to insult. Yes, we are. Museveni, you the elephant, I am very sure you have been to the forest. You know you can uproot the biggest tree in the forest. But in my language, in the forest, there is a very little tree called the Akalema Njovu. Njovu means the elephant. That little tree called the Akati Akalema Njovu, it is a very small tree. The elephant will never be able to uproot it. It's because it has gut tricks, just like the little dogs. Yes, those little stupid dogs. So today, people power. You the little dogs of Uganda, we get up and reclaim what belongs to us, Uganda, and chase the elephant out of the country. Do not be upset. You are doing a good job. Do not be upset. You are doing a good job. Now, let me go back to the point of our previous caller. I'm crying to the world. Miss Brenda, what Hitler did, it was like nobody knew this thing were happening. Everybody blamed another.
Yes.
Every nation turned against another country that where were you when this were happening? As a result, they told us UN was born. For me, it was about justice. It was about human rights, which are not given by Museveni, which are inherent, which are given by God. The day, the hour, the minute, the second you drop on this earth, you come with those. So, if the UN is for human rights, then they might stand up for what UN was born for. Yes. And do the right thing. The Ugandan people, Uganda has lost so much, so that the neighbors, the evidence is there. There is nothing to hide. What Museveni, Kagame, and this cow Southern Sudan, what they have done is a kill, kill, kill. Total, 80 million people and more. They are nowhere to be seen. So, what does Sam Kutesa and Museveni has brought? What do they have to bring to the UN as we know it? And it's the reason of its creation. That is my cry. Yeah, if it is about human rights that they were, UN was born, they might stand for it. Thank you so much.
It means the lives of all these people who have died means nothing to the UN. It means nothing to the world. It means all these women who have been raped in Congo, in Uganda, and who have got HIV because they have been raped in these conflicts which have been exported by Museveni. Nobody cares. I remember Her Excellency Hillary Clinton was leading until her voice was heard. The UN didn't care about the rapes in Congo. And so, really, and then it's not a shame on Uganda alone. It's a shame on the African continent. It is a shame on the UN. It's a shame on the entire world that more than 10 million people can be dead and nobody cares. Let those people turn in their graves.
Yes, because you're absolutely right in validating what Dorothy had to say. The United Nations was birthed out of what happened in in German Nazis there. And we decided when that happened that the world would never turn its back again on those type of atrocities, that human rights issues and the rights for human rights would be upheld at any cost. So when you have the United Nations even contemplating the thought that this man could be considered for such a high position as that, the President of the United Nations Assembly coming up here, it's a slap in the face and an insult to all the people who have struggled, suffered, and died, and for all of those who fight for equality and justice throughout the world each and every day. And this is why it's important for all of our voices to be heard. You heard me at the top of the show. I said go out to Black Star News. There's an article out there where Secretary Kerry is talking about the very issues that we're discussing here on Voice Uganda Radio today. If you go out there and read that article, at the very bottom of that article, it will say, would you like to sign the petition? This morning when I went out there, the petition only needs about 70 more signatures. 70 signatures. And our vote goes through as well. We're making a loud noise around the world. One of the things I loved about that petition out there is if you go out there and you really look at it, you are talking about globally people are signing that petition. It's not just in one area, one country, one region. People around the world are signing it. You have people from the United Kingdom. You have people from Australia. You have people from New York, from California, Missouri, Massachusetts, Florida, and Germany. It just goes on and on and on. I mean, there are people from everywhere making their voices heard. One of the things I love about this is that Uganda has fallen on deaf ears for far, far too long. For 28 years, we've allowed this man to ruin this country, rule this country, and do the things that he has done. And the thing that's so beautiful about all of this to me, not only that it numbs me, it paralyzes me with anger for the hurt and for these type of things happening, but what the beauty of this is that now the Ugandan people, we have finally heard their cries. The Ugandan people can rejoice today because the world is listening. The world knows what's going on there. The world has embraced you as our brothers and our sisters to say that we can no longer stand aside and allow this man to continue to do these things to you. We can no longer stand aside and allow him to put people in positions to go forward, representing the people of Uganda. The Honorable Zoe Bikoko said it very plainly this morning when she talked about, this leader wanting to become the president there at the Assembly. He is the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Why have we not heard of him before now on all of the atrocities that have happened in Uganda? This is a man that the world should know very well from standing out for the rights of the Ugandan people. But we don't. All we know of him now is that he's being ready to be put in a position of leadership over a great nation, a great world of people who want nothing to do with this type of corruption. We have a call coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and take this call. Hi, caller, are you there?
Yes, Ms. Brenda, this is Mugiru Musoke.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Fine. How are you doing? I'm enjoying the discussion. Well, assuming it is not depressing, given the subject matter we are dealing with. I think almost all the important points have been made by your panel and the callers. So the best I can do is just to put emphasis where I think it belongs. First of all, I think that I have two main points. One has to do with the Tutsi arrogancy, which is manifested in Museveni's leadership, and the contradictions within Museveni's philosophy and what he's trying to do. As far as Tutsi arrogancy, it's part of their culture, and it's manifested in various areas. Historically, the Ankole kingdom in Uganda, the Bahima used to call the Bairu, who are the majority, about 90% of the population in Ankole was Bairu, and the word Bairu, Mwiru, for a singular, means slave. Bairu are slaves. In other words, Tutsi arrogancy, to call your fellow citizens slaves is the epitome of arrogance. I think you can't be more arrogant than that. And I don't know how this could have gone on for centuries, but it did. And eventually they liberated themselves. The Tutsi, in Rwanda and Burundi, the word Hutu, it means servant in Kinyarwanda. It means servant. And these are the Tutsis, again, a small minority, which was at the head of the Rwanda kingdom and Burundi kingdom. And it is incredible when you think about it, that these people have been so arrogant for centuries, and they continue to do so. Museveni's leadership itself, you've just mentioned it, he was talking about a little dog trying to hunt an elephant, and he is the elephant, and the little dog can do nothing to the huge elephant. Well, you know what? Museveni was literally telling us what his perception of what a leader should be, that a leader is a master, not a servant. Leadership in a democratic system, the leader is a servant, and he is not a master. He is not the elephant who, being hunted by a small dog. So it is the other way around. If the leader is supposed to be, in a democratic system, supposed to be the servant of the people. So you see, all this goes back to discrimination within the Tutsi culture. Tutsi society, the Bahima in Ankara, I've already mentioned, the Banyamurenje in Congo, they are the same. They do exactly the same things as the Bahima did, as the Tutsis did in Rwanda and Burundi. So, and this idea of arrogance, again, is manifested in they think that they can even have a Tutsi empire in the whole of Africa or East Africa for that matter. But how can you manage to build an empire when these little kingdoms have been abolished? They are extinct in Ankole, in Rwanda and Burundi. So that is another form of arrogancy, as far as I can see, of the Tutsis, and I think people better understand that. The second point about the contradiction, the contradiction, Museveni's leadership has been contradictory all the way from the beginning. He went to the bush to fight a war because of rigging of elections, so he told us. He waged a war because an election was rigged, and he has been rigging the elections ever since he came to power. So, again, he can't see that contradiction, that he's contradicting himself. You can't go to. He never meant it in any case. That's what it means. He never meant that he went to real war. He was fighting for power. He's greedy for power, and that's why he doesn't want to leave it. The 10-point program, which now made the NRM very popular in Uganda, again, it's a contradiction because some of the aims of the 10-point programs were to restore democracy in Uganda. They've done the opposite. Their aim was to eradicate corruption. They've become so corrupt. The Kutesas you are talking about, they've become billionaires. So that's again another contradiction. The 10-point program again was about protection of human rights, and what they've done is to violate human rights. They are violating human rights. They even have created these notorious so-called safe houses, which are very unsafe, where people's legs are broken, they are hit with the iron rods, and it's incredible. In view of all this, Uganda is the wrong country to lead an important institution of the UN, the General Assembly. So we cannot allow this contradiction to be realized and to become a reality. Kutesa is the wrong man of all people. Kutesa is the wrong man. If anybody was going to the UN to head the General Assembly, then the wrong man, it could not, of all people, Kutesa is the wrong person. So I'll stop there and allow other people time to come in and talk about. But I think what is important, what I'm trying to point out, is the fact that we have to understand the Tutsi arrogance, its source, its origin, and it's not going to disappear. We are the ones who are responsible to make it come to an end, and these contradictions have to be exposed, and the world has to understand it. You see, this is the problem. When Museveni, during the 90s, the West praised him. They thought this was the best leader Africa has ever seen. What a contradiction. He's the worst we've ever had in Uganda. And he's not the best in Africa either. So I think I'll stop there and allow the discussion to continue. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your call in. Zoe, I know you were getting ready to speak when the professor called in. I'll let you go ahead and comment on what he just had to share there too.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Mupiru. It is always a pleasure to have you on the panel because you make people reflect even much deeper when we have these discussions. Yes. Because for Museveni, he has even denied Ankole, by the way, and so has Kagame. They have denied those people to have their kingdoms. For Museveni, he is the king. He's the super king. And that's why he restricts sometimes the Kabaka, even though the Kabaka is there, even though the young men from Toro, they have their kingdom over Bunyoro. But all the things are controlled by him. You have even seen the shenanigans in the Busoga kingdom, where he wants the person who becomes the king of Busoga to be the one he wants, not what the people want. And so he is the super king. And so really these cultural institutions mean nothing to him. The contradiction, the greed, the power he wants and accumulates, whether in form of money or in form of the power where he oppresses the people, or where he gets the police to beat people around and whip people. It's just unimaginable of a leader who deserves even any country. He has no accountability to the nation or to the population who elected him, as he says, and that he does it because people have never elected him anyway. He has always rigged the elections, and so therefore he owes the people nothing, and he can treat them the way he wants. And at the end of his term, he can always go back and rig the elections and do the same thing. That's why he behaves that way.
And I know, but in speaking of rigging the elections, because you can address this, and I know that Dorothy will when she chimes in a little bit. In the United States of America, like the caller said, there are only 240 registered to vote in that area, but we know that over 600 voted. And in any country, you have to vote in your area. If you come in out of the field, you better make it back to where you live, because you could not stop in just any area and cast your vote. When we show up in America to go and vote, we have to show our voter ID card along with another identification, and we have to sign the book. And if your name is not in that book, you don't get to vote. They say, sorry, you have to go to your precinct and you have to vote there. So accountability is not even just in all the cards they're handing out or whatever, but if he wants to say that he's truly voted in by the people, there should be signatures and ID shown for the people that are voting. If anything, if you're going to rig the election, why not just allow 240 people to vote? Why would you allow 600 votes to go through? It speaks of the intelligence that is missing in this administration. Go ahead,
Miss
Zoe.
Brenda, did you see the article when Mr. Museveni was actually talking about the ID project and saying that the ID project was going to stop rigging of elections, and that in I don't know which year, he said the late Kategaya voted 10 times. He also voted I don't know how many times. He did not want to talk about someone who is alive who can be able to come up and say, I did not do it. He spoke about Kategaya, who is dead, and accused him of voting so many times. There are so many. That is to show he's number one in the NRM. Kategaya was number two. And so he and Kategaya, who were number 1 and 2, if they were going to vote so many times, what do you expect of everybody else in the country?
Wow. Yes.
So for me, I will like the vote. Professor Mubiru was talking about the 10-point program. Let me remind you of what the 10-point programs were. Number 1 was democracy.
Wow, at the top of the list, huh?
On the top of the list. Number 2 was security. Number 3 was consolidation of national security and the elimination of all forms of sectarianism. Back to security. Number 4 was defending and consolidating national independence. Number 5 was building an independent, integrated, and self-sustaining economy.
Wow.
Number 6 was restoration and improvement of social services and the rehabilitation of war-ravaged areas. Number 7 was elimination of corruption and misuse of power. Number 8 was redressing errors that have resulted in the dislocation of sections of the population. Number 9 was cooperation with other African countries in defending human and democratic rights of our brothers in other parts of Africa. Number 10 was following an economic strategy of mixed economy. If you listen to these 10 points, which were supposed to be the guiding policy for Museveni's government on initiation, has he followed any of them?
I don't think he's followed not one.
Or was it a strategy so that he was going to export, like this cooperation with other African countries in defending human rights? Was it to export wars into all these other countries so that he could plunder the countries, steal their minerals, kill their people, rape the women. Where is the security in Uganda? Where is the democracy? So, the guy, like Professor Mubiru was saying, the contradiction in Museveni and what he has done, his representative does not deserve to chair the United Nations General Assembly. He does not. And so the world will have to listen to all these cries. As I said, otherwise all these 10 million plus people who have died because of all the conflicts, the wars, exporting HIV, people will turn in their graves. And I don't see how the UN can ever preach human rights, can preach justice, can preach independence and democracy when they succumb to the shenanigans of the Musevenis and Sam Kahamba Kutesha and bring him to chair the United Nations General Assembly. It is just unbelievable. So it's just there. We are crying out, and we hope Secretary Kerry will listen to our cry, and that he will take this petition to the president, and that all the other countries will listen to our petition, and that they will be able to say no and deny these people the opportunity.
Yes. Zoe, Dorothy, go ahead and comment to that.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brenda. I think everything that needs to be said, we have said it.
Yeah.
There goes the responsibility of Ugandans and the world at large. I will not tire to say for the global world to respect what they think or what they believe or what we know to be true. UN was born for. That's it. Should Sam Akamba Kutesa become the UN General Assembly, President of the UN General Assembly, well, the books and history will be rewritten because it won't mean anything. It is about human rights, which Museveni and Kutesa, Kagame, and the others, they have so very, very much violated. For them to think that they're going to use that same chair to defend themselves, to get off the hook of what they have done, that is unthinkable. And it is our responsibility to make sure that it does not happen. Senator John Kelly, I hope you've heard our cries. It shouldn't be. It should not be. With the Public Management Bill, the 8th Anti-Gay Bill, there are so many slaps in the face. With the investigation going on in Northern Korea, where thousands and millions die, starving, but they have money to spend to give technical support, to train soldiers, to train support, give them fellow communists the money. They don't know what the word human rights means. For him to come out and to say he does not see no problem with North Korea and he loves them, he doesn't see any problem with them. That is, to me, for the U.S., an insult. The second one, after he came out and he said he doesn't need the U.S., he has Russia. Now, they stand up or they don't for what the word UN as we know it means. Now, for the children of Uganda, for those in struggle for justice, the individuals, the organizations, FADU, Voice of Uganda Radio, and the others where you are. For those who have true justice for our brothers and sisters, for those who call Uganda home, it is the time to get up and stand for what is justice. Because we have a right. Let me tell you, nobody should be running in circles. Museveni, since 1986 he came to power. President Reagan was here in the United States. How many more presidents we've had? George Bush Sr., Benny Jr., President Clinton. Here we have Obama. How many Ugandan children have been waiting to give to their country an opportunity of being a president, bringing new ideas, and take Uganda forward? Nobody needs an explanation. If you are cited that you are supporting an opposition, you should stand up and say, yes, Museveni, your time is over. In Uganda, we have a saying that Nazino Bulungi ava mu ddiiro. Even though you are the best dancer at the party, time comes when everybody says, okay, you've done well, give somebody else a chance. But in that regard, Museveni, you are not near the best dancer that can be out there. Honorable Zoe has pointed from point 1 to point 10, the 10-point program. Actually, he has managed to do the opposite of each. Yes. He has managed to do the opposite of each from 1 to 10. He has done it. So, since you have not done a single thing in 28 years in power, what else do you have for us? Nobody should be ashamed. Nobody should be explaining that you are trying to say, hey, Museveni, go. Yes, Museveni, it has been time. You have managed to torture. You have brought Uganda to its knees. Now you get out. Out. It depends what we Ugandans do. As Musana said, you stand up and fight for Uganda. Museveni, even though you have done it so well, it is already time up. But since you haven't done anything, well, it is time overdue. Leave us alone and give the children of Uganda the sun, the break of the day. Instead of selling them, the Ugandan child worth $100 in Southern Sudan dead because you have to stay in power. Now, you small little dogs, stupid small little dogs, you need to get up. We need to get up and agitate this elephant and get it out of Uganda. And we are doing a good job. Keep it up. Unity is the word. Nobody should go out there with their self-interest because you lose the focus. It should be about the children of Uganda as a whole. When Museveni is killing, when people are dying, when people are starving, when there is no medication in the hospitals, it doesn't matter if you are Munyoro, Mutoro, Muchiga, Munyankole, or Muganda. Everybody suffers. It doesn't matter if you are Muslim, if you are Catholic, if you don't believe in God or whatever. So this brings us together. Small little dogs, stupid ones. Get up, let us chase that elephant out of Uganda. Thank you so much, Voice of Uganda Radio, and Miss Brenda, Honorable Bakoko, and all the listeners.
Thank you. Very well said.
Miss Brenda,
Zoe,
I just
let me give you a couple of minutes here. No, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. Go ahead and take a couple of minutes, and then I'll close out the show.
Yes, Miss Brenda, I just want to thank you every day and thank God for this panel that we have and for Voice of Uganda Radio. And I just want to say to the women, to the mothers, that this is our opportunity to go forward as mothers, support our young boys and girls, the youth, in reclaiming our country. Support the fathers, our husbands, the uncles, in reclaiming our country. And we are determined as FADU. we are determined as FUF and all the other organizations, including all the Ugandans, to bring a better leadership to free our country. And Easter gives us that hope, that the risen Lord gives us strength and courage to take back our country, to bring accountability to Uganda, to a nation, and bring its glory, the glory of the Pearl of Africa back. And we have work to do after Museveni is gone. And he is going anyway. He can say everything. He can call himself God. He can call himself an elephant. He can call himself the king. He can use all the tricks. He's going. And trust me, we are going to have to work hard so that we can bring back the glory of our nation, and so that Ugandans can sit and walk with their heads up again. I thank you, listeners. Have a happy Easter.
Thank you so much, the Honorable Zoe Bakoko and Madame Dorothy, for being a part of the program today. I want to share a little piece going out here today. When last Summer Olympics, we were all excited when we saw a Ugandan win. And I think he was running in the marathon there in the Olympics. I can't remember which one he was running. He won. And I remember the pride of the Ugandans calling each other, saying, who is this guy? Where did this guy come from? No one even knew that he would be there representing Uganda. But there was pride. That same pride we should be having now with someone being able to sit as president of the United Nations Assembly. It should be a time of being proud of our country, being proud of what we belong to, being proud of being honored in such a way. And yet we all go before that assembly with our heads hanging low. We have no pride. We only have shame. We have shame for a government and for a country that feels like we should even be put in a position to be considered as such. Is it on behalf of the Ugandan people or on the just behalf of a few? That runner that ran in the Olympic, he ran proudly for the country of Uganda. He ran proudly for what it stood for. That's the pride we should have now, but we don't. We speak of the things that we've talked about today on this program in sadness. This is not a time of victory for the country of Uganda. Like the Honorable Zoe Bakoko said, that is what we want to bring back. That is what we desire to bring back to the hearts and the people of Uganda, so that they can once again walk in the country with their head held high, that they can be seen on the outside world as a country moving forward, not going forward and putting someone in front of them like this with no moral character. Each and every day of our lives, we're judged according to the moral character that we have in what we do, how we present ourselves, and how we move forward. In the country of Uganda, the moral character of this person is put on trial, and it is not the character of an individual who stands on behalf of all of the Ugandan people, to speak on behalf of the Ugandan people. He brings shame and heartache to all the things and all the atrocities, all the human rights issues and everything that's happening to Ugandans. We cannot stand aside as a world and allow that to happen anymore to the Ugandan people. Please go out to Black Star News today. Read the article that John Kerry has out there. At the very, very end of the article, click petition, sign the petition. I'm hoping by the time this program is over, I've gone out there and the last 70 signatures needed are there. Those signatures represent the world. It represents us as a United Nation throughout the free world to say that we will no longer stand aside in silence and allow these things to happen to the Ugandan people. God bless America. God bless Uganda. God bless all the people in the global world. Thank you so much for being a part of this program on this Easter Sunday here at Freedom at Hand with me, Miss Brenda, the Honorable Zoe Bakoko, and Madam Dorothy. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Easter day. God bless each and every one of you until we meet again next Sunday here on Voice Uganda Radio.